On this special episode of the ASC podcast with John Goehle, recorded during the New York State Association of ASC Spring Conference at the Gideon Putnam in Saratoga Springs, New York, we interview state association leaders, discuss the conference and the activities of the state association, and interview several speakers from the conference. So this is John Goehle here at the Spring New York State Association meeting, and I'm here with Marta Shultz and Doug Mars with Simplify ASC. Welcome to our podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So this is kind of funny because, I spend so much time in these conferences dealing with, educational issues, the program issues, that I literally don't get around to the booths that much, and I apologize about that. So Sue came back from ASCA, and she says, you need to talk to these people from Simplify ASC. And I said, why? Yeah, I mean, it was nothing against you. It's just like, I get phone calls all the time about things, but but I have to listen to Sue, because when she comes back and she's interested in a product, because she's as skeptical as I am about things. So this is great to be able to talk to you a little bit about what's going on. And of course, let's make this general too. I mean, as I keep saying to vendors, when you come to the ASC industry, what you need to do is recognize that we need a solution. We need you to solve our problems. And it's great that your product does this, but more importantly is, what is the problem that we're trying to deal with, and how does the type of product that you've created as well as your specific product meet those requirements? So tell us a little bit about Simplify ASC and what you're trying to do.
Well, first of all, we want to thank Sue for being so smart.
Well, thank you. Say that a few. Now we're going to cut that out, and we're going to keep that on its own little loop.
So Simplify ASC, we've been in the business for over 16 years, but we rebranded this year to Simplify ASC because we felt like the name really reflected what we were trying to do, that the ASC market, and that is all we do, is ASC. Mm-hmm. So that is a little bit different. We wanted to make sure that our product was out there helping people get through their work and loving the way they work in a quick and expedient manner, because unfortunately, a lot of products that weren't built for the ASC are too labor intensive. They require a lot of clicks, a lot of work that people don't have time to do and don't want to do, don't need to do. And so Simplify really was the brand because that's what we were trying to do. We wanted to simplify the process. So with that, some of the things that we're trying to help people get past, we found that we did a lot, and Doug can speak to this, we did a lot of research with our current clients who were using our chart product and asked questions like, what's painful about your process? If you could change one thing, what would it be? How would you make this work better for you? And we found that reporting was a huge issue. They have to report for Sparks in New York State. They have to report for federal CMS measures. They have to report to their board. They have to report to their physicians. They have to report some places in counties. And so that was a big pain point that we wanted to address and drive. And so we have a business intelligence tool built into our practice management system, which is almost unheard of. And so I came from the clinical side of things. And when I worked with our development team and they asked me, well, what do you want to report on? My answer was anything by anything by anything. And that was what they did. They laughed at that too. And but the reason was I can't predict what will be requested tomorrow.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to be hamstrung and say, this is a great report. Here's your canned report for X, Y, or Z. And so our business intelligence tool really allows you to select anything by anything and filter by anything and add another filter by anything. And so we hit it. We did that. And so it's been very fun for me to be able to, my focus has been quality and risk management, to be able to marry that clinical data with the financial data so that I now can say an infection or a callback actually costs my facility X amount. Or I can prevent, if I look at this process and I decrease my turnaround time in the OR or I decrease my late starts, I save X amount of money.
Okay, and so really good reports. And
really good.
A way to gear your QI studies or any kind of thing like that.
Right. We were working with a group the other day, and she said, well, I spent 3 hours of my weekend working on this report because I needed it by physician. And I was trying to marry multiple reports. Yeah. And while she was talking, we literally were hitting a few things. And she said, you just did in 5 clicks what took me 3 hours this weekend.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do. We don't want we want you home in time for dinner. We want you to love working at your ASC again. And you don't love it when you're there till, 8, 9 o'clock working on a report for the next day.
I'm a little technically challenged. So for me, I think I mostly saw the chart part of it when I was at the conference. But it just looked very user-friendly.
Right.
I don't remember the names of the people who were at the booth, but they were saying that you just kind of give them your forms and they can customize them. Or if you want something like, I kind of like our forms, but I think we need to change this up, that they can help you with that. It looks so much easier than most of the things that I see where I'm trying to search around and I can't necessarily find what tab. I go through this tab to get to that tab. So Simplify is the perfect name for that. So.
Exactly. Well, and we, one of our things is we want, and I'm passionate about, and don't give me the soapbox because I'll be on it for hours, about good patient quality care. And I think everybody comes to work wanting to do that. But I had this happen in a doctor's office. I told them I took vitamin B. It literally took them 7 minutes to find vitamin B in their med list. 7 minutes. I timed it, because that's what I do. But after 7 minutes, they finally find vitamin B. I thought, this is ridiculous. And so, our charts, we take the paper forms that people have used, or, if they're coming from a different EMR, we take what they like, and then we help them tweak it. And my title is Vice President of Quality. So one of the things that we do is we go through your forms and say, that might be a little risky for you. Or you might, normothermia is a new measure. You want to make sure that you hit normothermia. So let's make sure you have that PACU temp with a time so that we can hit that and get that report and not make you struggle, with chart review later. But our chart, because we mimic what people are already doing, our implementation is almost nil. We come in and we teach you to use a tablet so that you're using a stylus to click where you've used a pen for years. So it's not scary.
I know that feeling. Like, oh gosh, I just hit the wrong button. Where am I?
Right.
So you don't. And I think knowing the ASC space too, as you said, medical records, anything coming into it, they're kind of going from hospital-based. Or office-based or something, and there's that whole learning curve. And also just knowing the regulations, like you said, if you're going, you probably should add this or that can be so helpful to people that are just, they may know this stuff, but they're just, like John had said earlier, you're just overwhelmed. You need somebody to help you out with that stuff.
Right. We consider our role, we'd say that we have a platform, but our role, both with our support, our implementation, and with even, hiring me for quality, is that we believe we act as a consultant to you, that we're a partner. It shouldn't just be, oh, you're installed, see you later. So, we partner with people, and our software support people. We have 24/7 American-based support. And, even though most ASCs aren't 24/7, but some of them.
Questions can be though. We know from our company it could be when that question comes up. It could be anytime.
Exactly. And with now 23-hour stays hitting, as we're seeing total hips, total knees, cardiology procedures coming in, you're going to see you can't have support end at 5 o'clock. You need that. And our support is phenomenal. People love them. We actually bring them. I think you might have met some of them at ASCA. We had, who's Sam? People come up and hug our support people. That's. I had not seen that in the business before. Where
it's not a usual customer service reaction.
No, they're like, oh, he saved me so much time.
That's awesome.
Well, we don't think it should take you longer to get a support call than a procedure. And if you're doing,
it's a good rule of thumb.
And if your eye procedures go very fast, they need to move fast. They don't need to be hunting for a field. They don't need to be waiting, for a call if they have a support issue. Unfortunately, most of our support issues are things like, hey, I'd like to tweak that form. Maybe add this. It's not downtime or things like that. It's, I think I could do this a little better. And, how can you help me do that a little better?
Getting that feedback. So what I also liked about it is that there were different sign-ins and different views that people could have. So if you want to make it simple, that process of, okay, you're in this role, you can see this screen. And I believe it was just a different sign-in that people could see different things. So they've got the registration, the medical record, and then you said you can do some searches. How does this all come together? What are all the different areas that you cover?
In my head, I'm going down through our menu so that I feel like I don't lose anything. In our administration module, when we come in and we set up, everything's user based. So, and I like to say user based because a lot of people base on licensure. And we don't do that. We go by case, pay as you grow. So as opposed to so many licenses, but it's user based. So depending on your role will depend on what you see, in the menu that drops down. And so if you are somebody that's registration, then you're going to see the patient wizard, come up so that you can get their financial information, et cetera. One of the things that we put in that I absolutely love, we went back to our clients and said, if you we're looking at your schedule and you wanted to know certain things about a patient before, from the time they're scheduled till the time that their procedures end, what would you want to know? And everybody had a different answer. Everybody had a different answer. And so instead of saying, well, here's the 6 icons that you can put on, we customize that. You can select as many things as you need and, put the icon that you choose with it. So if it makes sense to you to put a piece of candy by the diabetic icon, you have that, wheelchair, et cetera. But so then from registration, we have scheduling, registration, billing, claims, quality module, which is, don't get me started there, I'll never leave, the quality module where you can build any forms that you need to track quality. So I was in your session yesterday writing down, I need that. I'm going to build that in there. Quality module, and then of course the reporting, which is phenomenal. So I think I hit a lot of them. Yes. I'm not sure I hit everything.
That's okay.
I think the big thing is that, we are a single platform. We are enterprise based. And as more and more ASCs are teaming up to find that they get better buying power, they get, with their inventory management is another one that I forgot, supplies, preference cards, when they're trying to find those economies of scale. And maybe they don't want all of the same things across their ASCs, but they want some of that. Because we built on an enterprise-based architecture, we have that ability to give that. And depending on your role, when you were mentioning the roles, you have the ability to say, this person works across several of these facilities, and they are going to be doing reports, maybe for peer review or maybe for board reports. They have access to both, locations, facilities, multiple locations. The folks that only work in one facility, they only see that facility. They don't get that drop down of which location. So that enterprise architecture is pretty new to the industry, and I think is going to become more and more important as time goes on in the ASC world.
So one of the things that so many of our clients are dealing with, so many of our listeners, I'm sure too, are dealing with is just dealing with the transition, going to a full EMR system. Some of these more complex systems are very difficult, and, not getting the specifics about your product, but this transition period, be able to, identify products, and there's a lot of them out there, that help you during that time that are not so super expensive, and so invasive in your organization that it provides you the ability to slowly transform into it. What I found is that it's difficult for them to go through that because a lot of them don't know, even what 2.0, what 2.0 is. And to try to identify that path forward and to take it slowly so that you don't disrupt the older nurses. I'm not looking. I just looked at Sue when I said that.
You look right over
now I'm in trouble. Those that are not quite as computer savvy as the younger ones. Well, by the way, actually, some of our problems are with our younger people because they expect different types of technology. They would rather not use a computer. They want to text. And I think they want to text the information into the medical record at this point. So, what's great is, products such as yours and, the other ones out there that are kind of filling that niche, right? Niche again. Niche, there to be able to, find that path forward without jumping right into the water with these full-blown systems. And who knows, as I'm sure you've been talking, unfortunately I had to step away, but as I'm sure you've been talking about we're all transforming. I mean, we're building from the bottom up as opposed to the top down. A lot of those systems out there, they were transitioned from hospitals, and they said, let's dummy it down into the ASC.
Right.
Your product, and a lot of the competitors out there are doing that very thing right now. They're building things right from scratch, which is the right way to do it in our industry. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. So I left just as you were saying that you only are in the ASC space. Thank you for that. Because, the number of organizations that I've worked with who I've been consulting with some of these really large companies that say, oh, ASCs are out there.
Right.
Let me jump into that thing. And by the way, is their budget in the 7 figures or 8 figures? Right. Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah, well, we started $1 million.
Right. Yeah.
What surgery center do you think is going to spend $1 million?
Right.
So kudos to your organization for, supporting this industry on behalf of this industry, to be really dedicated to it. I really give you credit for that.
Well, thank you. Even our billing goes that way. We went away from the licensure model, which, came from the hospitals.
Yeah.
You need X number of licenses. So, we bill by case. So we call it pay as you grow.
Yeah.
And if you have a month, because everybody has a really busy month and then you have that slow month, you shouldn't be hit with that same price.
Especially in upstate New York, where all of our people head south, for the snowbirds head south for the winter.
Yeah. But in Florida, it's the opposite.
Right? Yeah, right, exactly.
So we're heading there. So yes, we love the ASC market. And, I think it's a special person that works in that, because you have the efficiency, but you still want that quality of care. Yeah. And we just want to make sure that they retain those two things and love what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Like we do. So.
Thank you so much, Marta and Doug. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Well, that's it for the special episode of the ASC Podcast with John Goehle. Thank you for joining us, and please spread the word about our podcast with your friends and colleagues, and do us the honor of hitting the subscribe button.